Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Chris Shultz, and I'm the Acting Commissioner of the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. We administer the CalMoneySmart grant program. I want to thank all of you for being with us today as we celebrate this year's CalMoneySmart grant recipients, and we look forward to another year of impact. Today, you'll hear from Lourdes Castro Ramírez, the Secretary of the Business, Consumer Services and Housing Agency, and two of our 2021-2022 grant recipients, including Robert Alcazar and Juan Valencia from Proteus, Inc., and Maxine Hickman and Ridwana Bentley from the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. As many of you know, these grants help fund nonprofits throughout California by working to serve the unbanked and underbanked. They provide financial coaching and financial literacy and other tools all across the state. Many residents of California struggle with limited access to basic financial products like checking accounts and electronic payments. As a result, Governor Gavin Newsom authorized the CalMoneySmart grant program in 2019 when he signed Senate Bill 455 into law. We launched the program in May 2020, and we received 95 grant proposals from nonprofits throughout the state. We were floored by this response. After significant deliberation, we provided grants to 12 really outstanding and innovative proposals. Proteus Incorporated, whose leadership is here today, was among that first cohort. Now, the inaugural grantees have been utilizing this funding to create financial coaching programs in financial education curriculum and financial services aimed at these households throughout California. Great news that in July 2021, the Financial Empowerment Fund, where we fund these grants, received an additional $10 million in funds as part of the state budget. That increases the amount available that we can grant each year to $2 million. We're excited to continue supporting organizations that are empowering vulnerable Californians with this new round of awards. This year's CalMoneySmart grantees serve unbanked households across 27 counties. I want to take a moment and really celebrate all of our partners who are doing the work and our internal department team that makes it all happen, including our grant analyst, Jeff Jelsma. Working through the pandemic has been no easy feat. All of our grant recipients from the previous year have found a way to pivot and continue providing services, even during these really difficult times. Thank you for your perseverance and your hard work. Now I'd like to hand this off to Lourdes Castro Ramírez, the Secretary of the Business, Consumer Services and Housing Agency. She'll talk about the importance of community partners in the work that these grants facilitate. Secretary?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, buenos dias. Thank you so much, Commissioner Shultz. Thank you for your leadership, and special thanks to the entire Department of Financial Protection and Innovation for your stellar stewardship of this grant program, and for moving so quickly to make these funds available to community partners that we know are working day in and day out to ensure that they are assisting and helping individuals and families and households, particularly unbanked and underbanked households in California, to access financial services and to support with building a savings account, improving their credit, gaining access to lower cost sources of credit. And we know that with this economic fallout as a result of this pandemic and the disproportionate impact that this pandemic has had, both from a public health perspective, but also from an economic perspective, the work that you all do, organizations that are on the ground, helping to connect consumers, helping to connect households to these financial resources, and doing so with a commitment to protecting and ensuring that consumers are not taken advantage of. It's critical now more than ever. So on behalf of our agency, the Business, Consumer Services and Housing Agency, on behalf of Governor Newsom, we thank you for the work that you have done already. And of course, today, as Commissioner Shultz shared, today we celebrate you all for your tremendous efforts and for being recipients of the CalMoneySmart program. I think, as the commissioner shared, this success, the ability to be able to garner an additional $10 million to support this program is really a testament to the important work that is taking place on the ground, but also that our legislative leaders recognize that we need to do more in this space. And the governor, of course, recognizes that as well. And this is why we have been moving in earnest, to ensure that these resources are getting out. As you all know, I don't have to say this again, but for many families, these challenges that have been exacerbated by the pandemic were already hard prior to the pandemic, but this crisis helped highlight the growing inequality in our communities. And so as we think through what responsibility we have at the state, we have to do things differently, and we have to do things in partnership with community-based organizations, community financial consumer protection organizations like yourselves, to ensure that we are not leaving anyone behind. I've had an opportunity to travel through California and worked with elected officials working to connect residents to critical rental relief resources. And one of the things that has remained common and steady throughout these conversations and these visits is the hope that people have for a better future, the desire that Californians have to improve their lives and their circumstances. And financial literacy and financial empowerment are critical. They're critical tools. It's critical that we increase access to these services and tools. So your work is intertwined with the larger mission that we have to ensure that all Californians have access to the resources that they need to ensure an equitable economic recovery. And we know that your work with unbanked and underbanked households is more needed in some areas of our state. That's why we're so grateful for instance, and you'll hear from them briefly, that Proteus is working to serve low-income, disadvantaged, and farm worker communities throughout some of the hardest to reach rural communities in Fresno, Tulare, Kings, and Kern counties. I know how deep the need is in some of these communities. I've seen it myself, which is why I feel so grateful for the work that each of you do. And I'm eager to hear about the lessons that you've learned, particularly, of course, for the first cohort, the first group of recipients from 2020. For us, it's very important that as we continue to deploy resources, that we hear directly from frontline community partners about your experience, what's working, what's not working, what would you like for the state to be more open to or more mindful of as we continue to deploy additional resources into the future. I'm excited, of course, also to hear more about the San Francisco chapter of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. Your tremendous effort and work is important and critical. The fact that you've been doing this work for the last 17 years makes you trusted messengers in your communities. And we've learned through this pandemic that as we work to respond to this crisis, it was so important for us to develop these partnerships with local community-based organizations that have been on the ground for years, right? They are the go-to place for everything from food to housing resources to how to navigate through the educational system. And ensuring that you reach Black women specifically, a demographic that sometimes is missed in financial education, is crucial. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about the work that you're doing. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to the leadership of Proteus so that we can all learn from their wisdom. And please take some time to share also what you've learned with us over the last year. Thank you so much, and congratulations to this year's recipients.
Thank you, Lourdes. This is Robert Alcazar. I am the CEO of Proteus Incorporated. I've had the pleasure of working with my community-based organization for over 45 years. We've been in existence probably a little over 55 years. So it gives me great pride and pleasure to service our communities that we serve in each of the counties. One of the things that I find it fruitful and strong is I remember as a growing boy with my parents, immigrants from Mexico, growing up and their stressful times and everything else in which, I also help in that navigate that process for them. But also here at Proteus, with a combined venue of working together and the same kind of mission and vision, looking to help those with the most in need and give them the proper tools. And when we received the grant, we were privileged to have another tool in our tool chest to be able to help those families and get the referrals that they need, get the housing assistance, but empower them with jobs and job market venues, and also give them that opportunity to grow. And it's a two-man team right now, because I'm the CEO. I just want to thank you all for this great opportunity for us and giving us that. But I'm going to hand it over to the baton to the person working with boots on the ground, our staff, Juan Valencia. Juan, you worked in the trenches, so here you go, Juan.
Thank you, Robert, and good morning, everyone. Like Robert said, my name is Juan Valencia. I work here at the Education Division with Proteus. Just a little bit about our program. So when we got the grant, or before the grant designing it, we really thought thoroughly how we wanted this program to be what it delivered. We wanted to be the foundation for the majority of our community members that we serve for the financial literacy. So we really thought thoroughly that we want to be a bridge and help our community members that maybe be fearful in financial literacy, unaware of what is out there and what empowerment they can have with a strong set of skills in financial literacy. So we designed it to be in 4 different cities within our counties that we serve. We had an online presence as well as our in-person presence to provide the training to our community members. So as time went on, again, this is the first time I think subject matter that our organization has had in financial literacy to serve our community members. So as time went on, we learned a few different things conducting this workshop. One, that we had to increase the capacity of our online presence as far as the workshop in general. So initially we had one instructor was providing online services as far as a workshop, and we expanded it to all 4 of our instructors now, so our capacity is a lot larger. And how we reach out to the community members, it's in general, using our service center, using partners, local partners, to get the word out that we are doing this and how we're doing this, letting people know that this is free, this is completely informative. And I think the partners that we collected along the way really helped us. We were able to connect with Tacoma's Federal Credit Union and Noble Credit Union. They were in the beginning stages with us planning, showing them what we had in store, the curriculum that we designed and created. They gave us good points, what we should give and what we shouldn't do. So that made our curriculum a little bit stronger of how to, what to give and what to provide. So as time went on, there was a few lessons learned, like I mentioned. One of them, again, was how we presented the workshop. We used the Google Classroom as one of our platforms for online. It was great in general. However, we did run into a few glitches with participants trying to get online and see some of our assessments that they would cover. So we took that, and in year 2, we made some adjustments that our participants would not face. So we got rid of some barriers that unfortunately they're running into. Let's see here. And then we have what we call a participant survey that they complete at the end of the workshop. And it basically gives us their voice of how the program went from their side and how we can be better to serve them. So that kind of gave us information of what we can adjust and how we can be better for them. Our instructors gave us some feedback, how we can make things better. We adjusted. Typically, we would do 6 weeks, 2 meetings a week. But we learned that our participants don't really have the time to meet twice a week. So we adjusted to once a week and adjusted accordingly. And we saw great feedback from that as well. So from those two voices, and then just seeing how the program was going, the workshop was going, the flow, the increase of knowledge that we've noticed from the pre-assessments to the post-assessments, you can see the growth. And that's what we really wanted to see. We wanted to see people grow in the knowledge of financial literacy. And we're really proud that we've seen a significant growth from our participants. And we're really excited for the following year and what's going to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And Juan, that was really interesting. And thank you for filling us in on all the really good work that Proteus does. I'm very happy to announce that Proteus is receiving a second round of funding to continue the great things that you're doing for the residents of the Central Valley. This year's grant is for $86,954. So congratulations. That's fantastic. Absolutely. Also pleased to announce a new recipient for this year's grant program. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated, the San Francisco chapter. The grant award for 100 Black women is $97,300. Congratulations. Today we'll hear from President Maxine V. Hickman and Second Vice President Ridwana Bentley from the coalition. We're excited to learn more about the nonprofit and what you plan to do with these grant dollars. Turn it over to 100 Black Women.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for this opportunity. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women is a nonprofit whose mission is to advocate on behalf of Black women and girls to promote leadership and gender equality in the areas of health, education, and economic empowerment. The national chapter was launched in 1981 and now has over 60 chapters representing 28 states. The San Francisco chapter was chartered in 2004. The vision of NCBW is to see Black women and girls live in a world where socioeconomic inequity does not exist. We have members from all walks of life in our chapter. Our purpose is to foster principles of equal rights and opportunities, to promote the awareness of Black culture, to develop the potential of the membership for effective leadership and participation in civic affairs, to take action on specific issues of national and international importance, and to cooperate with other persons and organizations to achieve mutual goals. To achieve our targeted program goals, NCBW San Francisco works to develop alliances with leadership from corporate, civic, political, and government entities. Our economic empowerment advocacy priorities are pay equity, African-American owned business growth, housing and real estate, and financial freedom. Ridwana Bentley, our Second Vice President of Finance and Fund Development, will discuss the CalMoneySmart grant program.
Part of this grant, we are partnering with 6 other chapters. So including the San Francisco chapter that is covering the Alameda and Solano counties. We have existing California chapters in Los Angeles, Orange County, Sacramento, Central Valley, and Silicon Valley that will be providing free in-person class and web-based financial education to Black women who are primarily the heads of household between the ages of 25 to 59. And that will know know and understand the importance of opening a bank account, learn how to create and manage an account, or a budget, I should say, understand the ease and importance of knowing how to save money, and obtain a basic understanding of investing for an overall healthy financial future. So the funds will be used to provide financial literacy instructors, to provide services for in-person and web-based training. We will also be using funds to hire an independent professional evaluator to provide us with pre and post surveys, to our participants, instructors, and participating community-based partners in order to inform us what are the lessons learned and what we can do to better our Sisternomics program. So I should also reiterate that our program is entitled Sisternomics, which began nationally in 2012. We have 5 parts of our financial empowerment programs. The first part is a mindset, meaning that we would have to educate ourselves, advocate for ourselves for a better financial future. So the course includes providing, making financial decisions through information, and basic economic strength to the Black female community. Embrace financial security and generational wealth. Share knowledge with other participants. So in the hopes of that we can reduce financial stress, which can also improve health and prepare for the future. We also want to, and also in the class, we would provide how to open up a checking account, what are the elements of writing a check, what happens when you write a check, discussion of debit cards, what are the ways to avoid fees, how do you balance that checking account? And then for curriculum number 2, we want to discuss home purchases. What are the nuts and bolts of buying a home? Understanding credit and its roles, borrowing and resources availability, and sustaining or avoiding a foreclosure. In model 3 of our course, we would discuss what strategic plan. We want each of our participants to build a financial future, and so that would include writing down a set of goals. The goals could discuss ways to save, or you want to save for vacation, you want to save for Christmas, or your child's college education. We will help the participants provide steps in order to do so. Segment 4 would be a roadmap to the side hustle. And I think that's important in order for us to, for Black women, or especially women of color, to advance their financial future. I thank you very much for the time. And if you have any questions, please, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions. Secretary, did you have any questions, or feel free if you have a question.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Just 2 things, and I have to, I have another commitment at 11:30, but let me introduce our Deputy Secretary for Consumer Services, Consumer Affairs, Deputy Secretary Leila Merishidi. She's joined us, has been also an incredible champion supporting DFPI with this work. And so I know she's prepared to stay for the duration of of today's conversation. I will just, end with a couple of remarks. And, first of all, congratulations to both organizations that have presented today for being recipients of this year's CalMoneySmart program. As Commissioner Shultz mentioned, DFPI has awarded almost $2 million to about 22 organizations across the state. And we intend to continue to build on the good work that you're all doing as we go into 2022. And then secondly, I very much appreciated what Ms. Bentley shared about how the connection to, as we address, financial stress and financial insecurity, we're also, by addressing that, we're also leading individuals and families to improve health outcomes. Because when we reduce their stress level, they are able to focus on other things that are important. And also, of course, financial stress affects us emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so I very much appreciate the way that you made that connection, Ms. Bentley. So again, on behalf of Governor Newsom, thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your work and congratulations. And so at this point, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Shultz.
Thank you so much, Secretary Castro Ramirez. So I did have a question, which is we're seeing a rise of what we call fintech companies, financial technology companies. These are, smartphone apps that provide financial services. And what we are hearing is that some consumers prefer these because the fees and penalties are more predictable, and also because they've felt maybe historically discriminated against in the traditional financial system, and they may feel like these app-based services are a little more colorblind. Are you running into any of that with the participants that you serve, and do you have any anything you can share with us about that?
Juan, do you have anything you can share on that aspect of it?
Not necessarily, not that we have run into. As far as the question you're asking, most of our participants are in Hispanic culture, but for them, it's mostly just the fear of walking into a bank and the unknown. The terminologies is sometimes overwhelming. So that is one of the biggest things we've noticed, and that's what we're trying to help alleviate. And the stress of walking into the bank and how to open a loan, what's a car loan, what's a house loan. That's what that's the barrier we've been into a lot.
Well, Juan makes a good point. I think for us and most of the service that we provide through our farmer communities across the different boundaries, it's always been an advocacy role for Proteus to advocate for our people, walk them through those perceived barriers. And once they get connected with somebody behind a financial institution, we ensure that they're in a safe place, and before we hand off the participant to somebody that's going to understand their culture and work with them. So I think that's the biggest barrier. And we are a trusted source because of that. We're like a one-stop for a lot of different services. They come in, we try to be sensitive to that and hand off personally the baton to somebody else that's involved in the business. And that's what I guess is the connection that we have instead of trying to do it electronically. A lot of our, I would say customers, I wouldn't say a lot, but a few of them do have that paranoia of technology still. So we don't really worry about that at this point. For the technology side, they still do a lot of things in person. So that's a different, I would say, participant or person that knows technology. And probably it is more impersonal for those that already know the system a little bit better than others. A lot of it for us is just learning how to utilize the technology, learning how to utilize the process, and trying to empower them in some form or fashion so they understand the language. So that's kind of the best way I can describe it, Mr. Commissioner.
I appreciate that. I also noticed that you partnered with 2 local credit unions. With the participants that you come into contact with. Does it make sense for them to do business with the credit unions, or do they often want to do business with the biggest banks whose names we all might know?
Yeah, for them, it's always like, well, the names are familiar with, right? And our objective was we wanted to provide them information of all their options, right? So Tacoma's credit union and Noble Credit Union, we wanted to show them what credit unions do, the other side, besides the big bank or a big name. So providing them resources, names, numbers, pamphlets, all that good stuff. Also having one of the members even possibly join one of our workshops to see who they are, to get familiar with who they are. That was a big emphasis on us too.
And it depends also who we're working with too, because I think what we try to empower them is the smart choices to see that there's also a good opportunity to shop around for those financial venues that do come around. So we try to provide them as much information as possible before they make a decision. I can only speak from my parents' side. My dad dealt with Bank of America and he never left, but it wasn't always an easy process. So, but yeah, it's education basically that we try to provide with what's not going to cost them as much money as other things. And so they can, in the long term, save money and understand the dynamics of how to empower yourself with credit and other venues that they're very exploring as family.
Thank you so much. Layla, do you have any questions?
No question. Can you hear me? No questions. I just want to thank everyone. It's so inspiring. I love starting my Monday of an election week with such an inspiring stories of people working to serve their communities, uplift their communities, and really make California for all. So thank all of you for your service. And I am so appreciative of you, Commissioner, and Maria Luisa, and the team for making this program, lifting this program off the ground and ensuring these funds get distributed to programs such as these. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Layla. I never like to let an opportunity pass to talk to real live consumer groups who are talking to real live consumers on the ground. One of the interesting things about the last 18 months is the government, whether it's the federal government or the state government, has pushed out a lot of money. The people who need it the most are the lowest income, the most economically marginal folks, probably some of the same folks you're serving. And here's what I really wonder, right? If they don't have a checking account and we can't direct deposit them the money, so if they have access to unemployment benefits or stimulus or child tax credit or the Golden State Stimulus Program or all these programs where we're trying to get rent relief, right? So we're trying to get money to people who don't have bank accounts, but how have you seen your consumers end up with money like that, and how do they turn it into cash that they can use? Maybe 100 Black women first, and then maybe Proteus?
Unfortunately, some of the people use the check cashing places where they pay these exorbitant fees to cash a check. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're working to get away from that as much as possible by having them become financially literate, actually. So that's what was noticed.
Thank you.
Similar to us, same thing. We're trying to educate our participants that those monies need to be used properly, and where they go really needs to be put into thought. Is there debt you can get rid of? Can you put some and put it away and save it for future any events coming up? So we've been trying to mention that to our participants that this is not norm. This is not normal that this is happening, but it's a relief. It's to help you to get off your feet. Any financial issues that have come up, this is going to relieve that. So that's been our message. But at the same time, we do notice that as well, that you get that $600. It's really easy to just go check in a cash it, and then just spend it. And it's really about changing that behavior and those habits, right? So that's one thing we're trying to strive a lot. Is it takes time, it takes steps, but it takes a lot of conversation. You know what I mean? One of our biggest focus in our workshop is budgeting and saving. What is a credit card? What's credit? How do you use it? How can it hurt you? As a young adult myself, 18 years old, I got a credit card that said you're pre-approved. And I was like, oh, great. I didn't pay attention to the interest rate or nothing. And I learned from it. We're trying to help prevent and then resolve that as well. So it's kind of lessons learned, but it's a lot of conversation. It's a lot about, you have this now, how can we use it? How can it help you for the long haul, not just now?
Commissioner, thank you for the question. I think for us, in lieu of all those things that were mentioned before, I think it's the electronic access that some of our people that don't know how to use it yet, and walking them through that process is the key, because they're still used to paper products as hard money, coins and stuff like that. And so they see it in their hands. And I think that's the educational process that we're trying to work through, because anything they need to apply for, they have to do it electronically. Unemployment benefits or any kind of benefit, it's electronic in this today's world. So we have, I think, some catching up to do to train anybody that walks in through our doors and having access to everything. And I take it from my case, I'm okay with technology, but I'm not the young generation that knows it through and through. So sometimes I struggle with it too. Well, but that's it, Commissioner.
I didn't have any more questions. Layla or Jeff Jelsma, did you have any questions for our two grant recipients? Okay. Did you all have any questions for us that we hadn't answered yet today?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say that our goal is to teach our program participants how to earn, spend, save, manage, as well as invest their money, so that can lead them to a better lifestyle. Thank you.
And for my part, Commissioner, I just want to thank you and your staff and everybody involved. And this is a step to the right direction and try to empower as many people as we can. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being our partners in this and for your time and insight and all the great work you're doing in your communities. Thank you to all of our CalMoneySmart grant recipients. To learn more about the program or to consider applying for next year, you can visit dfpi.ca.gov/CalMoneySmart. Thanks everyone and have a great week.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.